Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you how did I 100x my progress in front lever within 1 month. I went from touch front lever of 4 seconds to 10. I went from 3-3-3 to 5-5-5-5. I did 3 front lever pull-ups to 5 front lever pull-ups, 0 pull-ups to touch to 3 pull-ups to touch, as well as touch press, wide touch, wide pull-ups, archer pull-up, wide Victorian, and many more, all within 1 month. The point of this video though is going to be how do I structure my training for my clients and for myself. I'm gonna show you the logic that leads me to creating a plan that I do. So your point here shouldn't be to copy the exact same thing that I do. It should be to take the same kind of logic, apply it to your own training and make your own structure. All right, so looking at the starting point of where I was, where I had a few seconds of touch, I had a few front lever pull-ups. It felt like I had a lot of things, but at the same time I had pretty much nothing. And what's the overarching point there? That if I focus on one thing, it's going to improve everything. Well, it's the touch front lever. If I get a better touch, I'm going to get better at pull-ups. If I get better touch, I can do more of, let's say, the 3-3-3-3, like the XXXX, right? And if I get a better touch, I can also unlock stuff like touch presses, wide touch, etc. And so the goal is touch. And I did a mental cue of that I want a 10-second touch front lever right now as my primary goal. Now, in front lever, there are so many things you can focus on, right? There's holds, there's presses, there's pull-ups, there's touch, but there's also so many things like touch press, like wide variations, like soupy. There's just too many things that you can focus on in the moment. So it's very hard to do, right? But to do that, you have to first get better at front lever in general. So you need more time under tension in front lever. You need to more work capacity in front lever and also condition your body for more intense front lever work. So how do we do that? XXXX, so 2-2-2-2, 5-5-5-5, right? That is a method that allows you to expand your front lever work capacity so that you can do more in a set. The entire purpose of this is time under tension, right? Here, we don't really care about the form too much. Here, the only purpose is for you to be able to do more and more within a set, because that will open up more room for you to do other stuff, to work on more intensity, to work on form later. Now, the second thing when I'm looking at my training is that for me specifically, my front lever pull-ups were pretty ugly. So I struggled with the trajectory of front lever pull-ups, so I wasn't doing them as efficiently as I should have. And so the second main exercise that I used was banded FLPUs. The banded FLPU, the only reason why I'm doing this is to fix my trajectory. You can imagine that if my front lever gets better, if my touch gets better, my front lever pull-ups will also benefit from it. So this is another crucial thing that will just overall increase my front lever strength. The third one here is press. I have been always not pressing. I learned front lever by doing front lever pull-ups. When I got to front lever, I started doing front lever pull-ups and touch, but I never really focused on press because I dislike the skill. But presses are straight arm strength, which is very important for a front lever. And so to condition my body properly for doing anything in wide and stuff like that, it was beneficial. So I did add in as well presses. Okay, now you can see that these three exercises exist here for the sole purpose of, generally speaking, increasing my front lever. So making my front lever better overall. And so no matter what else I focus on, this base will make sure that I'm progressing every single session, right? Because these are things that are non-negotiables that regardless of whether I progress in my touch or not, this will increase my front lever by itself. But now we want also something specific. We want a goal. And so the goal here is touch front lever. And my job here will be to fit this within this structure. Now remember that you cannot just choose touch front lever and do only that, because one, it's too intense. Two is that if you max out one component front lever, you won't be able to repeat that many times in a session with good quality. And so you have to find the general things that you want to keep constant and keep improving, and then add in the goal. Okay, so out of all of this, let's make a plan. So one was X, which means X amount of touch into pull-ups, into press, into hold. This method works on your work capacity, so it expands how much you can do within a set. And so let's say I started from 3, 3, 3, 3. Now next session, I tried 4, 4, 4, 4, and I got it. That's a very big jump, like extremely big jump, but I did manage to get it because I was doing 3, 3, 3, 3 for a while, so I did a bad form 4, 4, 4, 4. Now after getting 4, 4, 4, 4, it's very, very hard to just go to 5, 5, 5, 5, right? So what did I do instead? Is I worked on 5, 5, 5 without the touch, right? Because this allows me to see what it feels like to do 5 pull-ups, 5 presses, 5 hold, And it's going to be doable because I removed the hardest component being touch. On other trainings, for example, I would aim for something different. For example, I could aim for 6-second touch, then I would, for example, skip pull-ups, and then I would do, let's say, 6 presses to 6-second hold. These are all ways to expose myself to more time under tension in one of the X's, which will allow my body to just get used to doing it for more. And I'm doing this, I'm playing with all these variables until I manage to do an entire 5-5-5-5. Now keep in mind that XXXX is very taxing on your body, and sometimes you just won't be able to do it, or your mind will not be there. So there's another way to use it. Because XXXX is a framework, it's simply doing all of those important components in one single set. So knowing that, on certain trainings where I was feeling more like doing quality work over a lot of volume, knowing that my goal is touch, and that the first X is touch, and is the most important thing to me, then I would do something, for example, like a touch into front lever pull-ups, into pullover, right? Into touch, into press, right? So you can see that this is a random combination that I just came up with, but this is something that I did as well. Is simply using all of these X's, but flipping it a little bit. So on certain days, for example, I might want to focus on touch more. And that's why you have a touch here, and then I use a pullover to add another touch. And so, for example, if I did a 5-second touch here, and then this one lasted 2 seconds, now within one set, I did 7 seconds of touch, which is basically the same thing as if I did 7 seconds into less pull-ups, less presses, less holds. And so there's many ways that you can play around with this and create your own combinations that are basically XXXX. So let's just go through another one. Let's say touch into pullover, into touch, into pullover, into touch, into pull-ups, into hold, right? So here, for example, I enter touch 3 times. And yes, maybe the last touch will be like 1 second or half a second, but I'm exposing myself to more touch front lever. But now, and this logic you can take to increase your front lever pull-ups. For example, you start with pull-ups, right? You do less of touch or less presses, less hold. It works for anything that you want to work on. And the goal for you is to know that this is how you can play around with your combinations. You don't have to stick to the exact same combo every session because your body likes new stimulus. So allow yourself to use the XXX framework and the idea behind it, which is to just add more time under tension and create your own combos. So this is the thing I did, and then I used the XXX as a way to track my progress. So, like I can have a big set here that looks very cool, but then if this doesn't end up with me being able to do more XXX, then something went wrong. And a very common mistake is going way too intense here. So you see that in these combinations, I will never be adding something like a wide front lever touch or touch presses, because I want to focus on those core components and doing more. I'm focusing on the set being more voluminous over the intensity of it. So even though, yes, I could add in here wide front lever pull-ups into touch, into whatever, that's not something that we want because it takes away from the focus of the set, which is not doing cool shit. It's about increasing the volume. Okay, so this set, I would only do 1 single set per training and only on strong days. So I was training every day. If I am feeling very strong, I'm going to do all of this. I'm going to do 1 single set of a very long combination. After that, I'm resting around 10 minutes just to recover fully and have space to add the rest of the training in. Now, after this, again, I'm very fried. So what do? I'm going to do banded front lever pull-ups. Also, only 1 set. Because I'm training every day and because banded front lever pull-ups are easy because, assistance, this serves kind of as a rest time after this going all out. But this also allows me to focus on my technique, to fix my front lever pull-up technique, and it's going to prime me for the next few sets where I might be using front lever pull-ups. This is my side quest, which is right here. And this simply keeps ensuring that my front lever keeps getting better, right? So 1 set of banded front lever pull-up with focus on trajectory. Now, number 3. Actually, let's skip to 4 first. Number 4, I am doing presses. So at the end of the training, I finish every session with front lever presses. I'm not putting this right here or earlier because presses just tire you out, right? If you max out your presses, your touch, your pull-ups, everything will suffer. And so I'm treating this as conditioning. I'm putting it at the end of the training. This is a non-negotiable because this is the conditioning that I need, but I don't need to do a lot of it. So since I'm training every day, I don't have to do many sets of it. I only go for 1 set of presses at the end of training. I resort to bands or partials just to make it easier. It doesn't have to be at my max intensity anymore because I'm putting all the quality work before this, as well as banded front lever pull-ups, fully technical exercise. So now you can see that this is how I fit those important things that will help me into my plan. Number 1, number 2, number 4, right? So now what is number 3? Number 3 is the part where you can do any short combinations that you want. And now this is where the actual goal comes into play. And see in the number 1, yes, I'm incorporating touch a lot. I'm kind of trying to focus on touch, but the main idea is still time under tension. I'm not going to go for a max touch and sacrifice all the volume for it. So number 3 is my portion of the training where I'm working on short combos that are oriented around touch. And this is also where I can play around with variations. So don't get me wrong, this isn't random combos, but this is freestyle combos in the sense that I can choose whatever I want as long as it's related to my goal. So to give you an example, it can be touch, press to FLPUs. So spamming touch press and then doing front lever pull-ups, or a short combo like, for example, wide touch into presses or wide hold, right? What else? I can do pull-ups to touch attempts, pull-ups to touch, right? Into, for example, hold. I can do max touch, right? So all of these, right? And this is how I unlocked all of these skills right here, like the Victorian and etc. Is that I was simply adding them in here because they were all related in one way or another to touch front lever. And because these are a little bit higher intensity sets, they can be shorter, so I can do more of them and also work on my the quality of them, right? And at this point, I'm not very fatigued yet. So yeah, this looks like a lot, but this is only one set, after which you can rest from like 10 to 15 minutes. Then banded front lever pull-ups is pretty effortless. So despite this being the third section of the training, I'm still having a lot of energy here, right? So here I do around 1, 2, 3 sets. Because I train every day again, I don't need to do more than that, right? I just go for a combination that my body wants to do that is related in any shape or form to touch front lever. So, oh yeah, and one more good exercise here was mini pull to touch, which simply meant that you're holding touch front lever and then you're doing tiny pull-ups into front lever. So this is what my training looks like, right? You can see that number 1, 2, and 4 are all exercises that are constantly improving my front lever. So that if I screw up number 3, which is directly related to my goal, I am still able to progress, right? So if on a certain day and there's no brain cells active in my head, and I go and I try to do a maximum straight arm touch attempt, right? And then I fry myself for the entire training, and this entire section became useless. I wasn't able to do any quality volume. Doesn't matter, because I'm improving in my trajectory, I'm improving in my conditioning in front lever press, and I also did a x6x6, right? So now, what did I do on a weaker day? Well, on a weaker day, I stuck only to bands and front lever presses. And depending on how weak it was, I would do maybe one short combination that was a little bit more related to touch front lever. So this is how I got it. And this is how elite athletes train, right? If you look at a vlog of an elite athlete, right, their combos are going to look different every time. But if you look closely, they all have a theme. They all have a goal. They're, for example, x6x6, right? It can be split and you can create your own big combo that follows the exact same rules as x6x6, but looks different, right? So it doesn't feel like you're doing the exact same thing, as long as you're still using this as reference. Same idea here, right? It is short combinations that are all different. I may have done a different combination every single training, but they all have a component of touch in them, which means that they're improving my touch, as long as it is the focus. So for example, right, the touch press, the wide touch, the wide pull-ups, the pull-ups to touch, everything here is oriented around touch. And so, if you're at this level already, you don't have to do the exact same thing in every training, especially if you train often. That's just too boring. Instead, just know what your goal is, know what each section of your training is trying to improve, and follow that as a structure, not a rigid plan. The important part also is to just remember, right? You always have certain constants that you want to improve to just get better at them, right? Whether it is form, like for example, in planche, you would be doing banded presses as an example, or banded wide holds, or the front lever presses here, or this being this regular presses. It all depends on your level, but you will always know what is something that you have to do just to get better at it, regardless of your other more experimental sets, right? And then aside from this, have a main goal. Those two are not the same. And the moment you understand that the future goal and the things that will improve your front lever constantly are not the exact same thing, you'll be able to create a structure like this. So this is exactly how I teach my clients. This is how I look into every client's structure, and I choose exercises depending on that. They understand how to, make a structure like this, but at the same time, how to follow it properly and how many of each sets to do, right? So if you are interested in my one-on-one coaching, click the link in the description, or just ask me questions on Instagram. I'll be sure to write you back. Now, if you like this type of a video where I'm kind of explaining the concepts a little bit more in depth, then make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment your questions, right? Ask me whatever it is you want to know, and I'll make sure to make a breakdown like so. I quite enjoy this kind of content, I like explaining things, and now I can do it visually because I got a board. So yeah, anyway, see you in the next one. Let me know if this helps you. Bye.